Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are looking at government and economy. Our essential questions for this section are: what are the four most common types of government found throughout the world? What are the three main economic systems found throughout the world? And what are two levels of economic development that geographers use to categorize countries? Our big ideas, our learning targets: understand the different types of government throughout the world and understand the difference between a government and an economic system. Our application targets for the information that we're going to learn about is comparing and contrasting different types of governments and economies and integrating our understanding of government systems into our geographic view of how they affect people throughout the world. So when we're thinking about government, we need to be thinking about what is the purpose of having government. Two questions come to mind. What would life be like if there were no rules? And what if there was not order or justice throughout the world? So we need to understand that governments make and help enforce the laws, regulate trade, and provide aid to its citizens. There are many types of government throughout the world, and they help shape the culture and the economy of a country as well as the daily lives of the people who live there. Overview then, looking at the four main types: democracy, a form of government in which people elect the leaders and rule by majority. Understand that democracy doesn't always equal freedom. We have monarchy, ruled by a king or a queen. A couple examples would be Saudi Arabia, Norway, and Spain. And a dictatorship, a single powerful leader has complete control. Iraq under Saddam Hussein. And then a communist, government owns all property and dominates all aspect of life in a country. So Cuba, which is starting to change. And then I have North Korea here. And I would put that there as well. North Korea would fall under a communist dictatorship. Economies of the world. One of the major functions of government is to monitor a country's economy. An economy is a system which includes all the activities that people and businesses do to earn a living. So how are the people making money, right? There's four levels of economic activity. Primary industry, using natural resources to make money. Secondary industry, which uses raw materials to produce or manufacture something new. Tertiary, provides services to people and businesses. And then we have quaternary industry, process and distribute information gathered by skilled researchers. This one is grown with technology use. Economic systems can be divided into four types. We have traditional, market, command, and mixed. The traditional, people are going to grow their own food and make their own goods. Trade takes place through barter, meaning that there's not an exchange of money. Someone has a bag of corn and someone else has a bag of beans, and they're going to trade with each other to get the product that they want. Often found in rural and remote communities. So here we're looking at a food market. And we can see all the different things that they have. So here I am, right? And I'm really wanting the bananas. I'm not going to give her money. I have a pumpkin that I want to trade. So it'd be an even swap. I'd get the bananas, and then I would give her the pumpkin. A market economy based on private ownership, free trade, and competition. Individuals and businesses are free to buy and sell what they wish. Prices are determined by the supply and demand for goods. Okay, that's really important to understand with the market economy. Prices are determined by the supply and demand for goods. No one else is dictating how much something should cost or how much should be produced. Um, we got guy here who is really wanting the new LeBrons, right? And then over here we have 25 other people who are really wanting the new LeBrons. So there's a demand for it, and that's going to increase the price. And if the demand were to go down, so we're getting a little basic econ here too. If demand goes up, price goes up, demand goes down, price is going to go down. Market economy is also often referred to as capitalism. And then a command economy, a system in which the government makes all economic decisions. Governments decide what goods to produce, how much, and what price to sell them at. So regardless of what the need is for the product, if the government in North Korea says we're going to make 1 million hammers, then they manufacture 1 million hammers and they determine how much they're going to cost. We can see the error in that, though, that if nobody wants hammers, then they just kind of sit around and nobody's going to buy them. No system of pure command economy exists. North Korea and Cuba would have been the closest to it. Cuba's starting to change, though, with the death of Fidel Castro. They're starting to come around and move into more of a capitalistic or market economy system. So in a market economy, all economic decisions are taken by market forces of supply and demand. We didn't talk about mixed. So mixed would be if we have some traditional, maybe some market, and sometimes we can have some command in there as well. The more developed the country is, the more likelihood there's going to be some mixed in there. And then, here we see some examples of command economies. The USSR. Here we have China. He was connected there. Fidel Castro in Cuba. North Korea. Kim Jong-il. Economic development then. Economic systems and activities affect a country's economic development. Countries are often grouped into two basic categories. We have developed, countries with strong economies and a high quality of life. They're going to have a high per capita GDP and high levels of industrialization. That GDP, gross domestic product. Healthcare and education systems rank high among all world nations, and they have high levels of access to technology. Developing countries then, less productive economies and a lower quality of life. Generally speaking, 2/3 of the world's population live in developing economic nations. Most citizens work in farming or secondary industries, and they usually have less access to healthcare and education. So we see on the map here, looking at our legend, right, or our key advanced economies are in purple. Right? And then we have less developed, and this kind of breaks them down into 4. Less developed, and in red, we have our least developed. And then the light blue is in transition. So they're working towards becoming an advanced economy. Economic indicators. They're used by geographers to decide if a country is developed or developing. GDP, gross domestic product, is the value of all goods and services produced within a country in a single year. Per capita GDP, total GDP divided by the number of people living in the country. So if we have 1,000 people, and then we divide if the GDP is 100, or excuse me, GDP was 1,000, there's 100 people living there. And what does that come out to? $10 would be the per capita GDP for each person. Allows us to compare income among countries. Other indicators include level of industry, overall quality of life. So this map then is just looking at the per capita. So based upon population, and we see that the most, on the previous map, the most advanced countries are going to have the highest per capita GDP. Your entrance ticket questions coming into tomorrow, just go ahead and answer those on a separate sheet of paper. What is the difference between a monarchy and a democracy? If someone monitored and collected data on customer satisfaction, what level of economic activity would they be participating in? Think back to those four levels of economic activity. And does the United States have a command or market economy? Provide one example to support your answer. And we'll talk to you next time.